So here's a question for you. Would you benefit from ongoing support to improve your sales conversations and ultimately close more business? The Sales Maven Society offers you daily support for your urgent sales questions, an extensive library of bite-sized trainings to hone your selling skills, and monthly live coaching calls where you receive individualized coaching from me specific to your business so that you're able to remove any bottlenecks in your sales process. This is the most robust sales coaching program around for an incredible value of only $147 a month. And you can join now for your first month for only $47. You get access to absolutely everything, including the live coaching calls with me. Come check it out and see if this is the place for you to really elevate your business to the next level. You can do this by going to yoursalesmaven.com/society, hit the join now button. And then when it takes you to that page, enter this code, the number 4, the number 7, and the word trial, TRIAL. So 47 trial, all one word, and you'll be a member. I can't wait to see you in there. Now, here's the podcast.
Do sales conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki Rausch, will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch. I'm here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversations. Today's episode is an on-air coaching call with one of my favorite clients, and it's Angela Foster. Angela is a private coaching client with me, but she's also a member of our Sales Maven Society. She's brilliant, and I'm super happy to have her here. Angela, welcome to the show, friend.
Nikki, thank you so much. I have to say, I've been listening to your podcast for over a year, and never in my wildest did I think that I would be like with you on it one time. So super cool. Fangirl moment for me.
Oh, jeez. You're so sweet. I adore you. I adore you so much. Tell everybody a little bit about you and your business, because you've got some cool stuff going on.
Yes, thank you. So I am a style coach for petite women, which also includes personal shopping. I work mainly with women who are executives and are too busy to shop, or women who just flat out don't like to shop and want just easy, done for you, click to buy, put it all together, and all of that. So yeah.
And you have some great programs. Talk a little bit about the different ways that you work with clients.
Mm-hmm. So, and I'm so glad that you asked about it, because that kind of leads into my coaching question too. So,
okay.
I actually have a 5-step style system that I walk through with clients. We can work with that and just for like a VIP session where we walk through all 5 steps, and then they can go and they can fill their closet with clothes that fit and flatter them. Or I have a seasonal package where we can work together for an entire season. So we have, outfits planned out for every single event, vacation, speaking engagement, business meeting, business trip that you have on your calendar for the season, or for the entire year, just depending upon how much how much we fall in love.
And then I feel like you also have some really clever ways that you talk about, like you're good at naming your programs, because they always tickle me. And you also have something that you talk about in particular, which I love, but I don't want to say it. I kind of want you to say it. And it has to do with the way that you approach like body shape.
Yes.
Because those of us have often heard us described as, are you a pear? Are you an apple? I don't know if I'm saying them right.
You are. No, unfortunately, you are saying it right. Yes.
And so tell me how what your like counter to that is.
Well, and it's super easy to buy into it. I Googled it one time, and there are 99 billion articles on Google. It might be million. It doesn't matter. It's too much. There's too many
It's a
about
lot.
body shape. Yeah. About how to dress for your body shape. And 99.9% of them say, oh, if you're an apple or if you're a pear or, whatever. And it makes sense. So when I first started coaching clients one-on-one, we would, because body shape is, you have to start there, like until you understand your body shape. So, and they'd be like, I'm an apple and my boobs are too big and my shoulders are too wide, or I'm a pear and my hips are too wide or my butt's too big. It was always I'm this and this is why it's bad.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So my body shape is you're not a fruit salad. That's like the jam. There's no fruit salads around here. So the first thing we have to do is get women out of this is my body shape and this is why it's bad. And instead, what I do is we figure out what your favorite feature is. And the very first thing that we do is we figure out how to emphasize that. And it just changes the way you feel. When you love your legs and your outfit like shows off how rockin' they are, then it all of a sudden puts you in a different mindset. And you just like women show up different in their relationships and at work and everywhere when they feel that confidence. So yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. And you also have a course, but I don't want to say the name because I feel like I'll rob you of how clever it is, but it's this thing about pants.
Yes.
Will you talk about that too?
Well, for short girls or even, like regular sized women that just have short legs, finding pants is super problematic. Pants are just tough anyways, which I think is ironic because we went through like a whole suffrage thing, to have the right to wear pants. And now they're the biggest pain in the butt on the planet. Like, they never fit. So
yeah.
Yes. So I have a mini course, Your Perfect Petite Pants. And we talk about the 3-step system that you have to go through in order to find your perfect pant formula. But really, once you have it, it makes your life so much easier. You're like, oh my gosh, no muffin top. My butt looks awesome. I don't have to have them hemmed. It's like everything.
Yeah. I love that so much. Pants are always a challenge. So I love that you have a course that teaches this very simple way to identify what do you need to look for in your pant so you can eliminate quickly. I always say get rid of the stuff that doesn't work so you make room for the stuff that does. I love it so much.
Yes. No, that's so true. I think, women's bodies change all the time, pregnancy, menopause, gain 5 pounds, lose 5 pounds, whatever. And keep holding on to those clothes that don't fit in your closet or don't make you feel awesome. It just, even subconsciously in the morning when you walk into your closet and you're like, nope, doesn't fit, doesn't look good, blah, blah. It just like starts chipping away at your self-confidence, even if you're not even aware of it. So yes, I'm all about purging the stuff that doesn't work.
That makes me think it's probably time to purge. So thank you for that. I now have a task to do. I love it. Okay.
I'll send you my guide.
Okay. Thank you. So this is really an on-air coaching call for you. And I know you and I do a lot of coaching together, but I'm super excited that you wanted to do this on the podcast. So let's talk about it. How can I serve you today?
Okay. So I feel like thought leadership has really become a hot topic lately.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's always been a hot topic and I've just started paying attention to it, which is entirely possible. But I'd like to know, what is it? Just in the simplest form possible. What is thought leadership? Is anything that I'm doing, does it lend itself to thought leadership? And then how do you go about, without being super redundant on social or with your email, how do you get the message out there so that your ideal peeps hear it?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my opinion because I do not think I'm an expert on thought leadership. I think I know some experts on thought leadership. So I'm going to give a shout out here right now to Carol Cox of Speaking Your Brand, because I think she is brilliant for many, many reasons. And she really understands this idea of thought leadership. So here's the things that I will say I think I've learned over the years. And if you're an expert right now listening to thought leadership, and I completely miss the boat here for Angela, please give me some grace. But I think the idea of thought leadership is figuring out what is your unique point of view on whatever the topic is, right? Or whatever the expertise that you bring. What is your unique perspective on it? Because this idea that, the saying, I'm probably going to say it wrong, but it's like, there's nothing new under the sun, which I think is true in a lot of different ways. And that doesn't mean that you still shouldn't really kind of plant your flag in the sand and be like, this is who I am. And this is my perspective, because your experience, your background, the way that you approach life, the way you approach your work, all these things about you make your perspective valid and unique. And there won't be anybody else like that. So I always think, when I'm thinking about the things, what are the things about my work that's kind of different from what everybody else is saying, but that I know for a fact that, like, I'm convinced this is my truth. Okay. And, like, one example, just like a super random example of this, when I think about thought leadership, one of the things I always talk about that I know is different about me and the way that I coach versus other sales coaches, I am very much about like step-by-step process, where a lot of other sales coaches, I feel like, give a lot of like, you got to follow up this many times, but they can't actually like, this is the step-by-step of how you follow up. This is why you schedule circle back calls. Like, I feel like that is kind of that piece that's unique. And it was really from getting out and testing and playing and getting feedback from my clients when it was real. And I remember it so clearly. It was in a VIP session with a client where she came back at me. She took what I was saying and she simplified it in the most basic form, which was the selling staircase. She was like, I keep just picturing this staircase, Nikki, every time you talk about a sales process. And I was like, perfect. If that's what works for her, then that's awesome. And that's really how the selling staircase came about. Now, luckily at that point, I had already been exposed to Carol's work, and I knew that Carol talked about creating a signature framework. And I was like, okay, I can create this framework, which for me was the selling staircase. And that becomes my perspective, my very unique approach to a sales conversation. There might be lots of other people that teach about how to have effective discovery calls and how to close and all those things that go into sales that are universal. And the selling staircase, this step-by-step approach, is very much my unique, I think, thought leadership when it comes to the sales conversation. So for you, I know you have the SPARK method. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that is a part of your thought leadership. Okay. And as far as, I want to pause here because I have some more to say, but I want to check to see, because I feel like I've been talking for a long time.
Perfect. No. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
So the other thing I think you had asked about is like, how much do you talk about it? And how much do you talk about it over and over and over again? And when you're sick of talking about it, like sick to death of talking about it, that's probably when it will start to resonate with an audience. When you're like, if I have to talk about this one more time, oh my gosh. I think when you look at people in their space that have garnered a very, very high level of success and have been doing it for a long, long time, they're often still touting the same message that they were talking about 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's the same thing. And they're still talking about it. One of the things I think we often do is we discount because we're like, well, I already know it inside and out. So it doesn't really like hold as much value. But just because you've been talking about the SPARK method for however many years that you've been talking about it, right, when somebody hears it for the first time, it's gonna knock their socks off. So you have to talk about it. You have to put out content around it. You have to refer back to it constantly. And it's really only until you're to the point where you're like kind of sick of talking about it, that it's, at least maybe that's just my experience, that then people start responding back. And so that's what I would say to you is that your Spark method it's definitely a part of your thought leadership, and you need to be talking about it. It's your framework. It's your unique approach to dressing a petite woman and allowing for her to really stand in her, in her place of credibility and authority and represent her brand, who she is, and how she shows up in the world.
So I know that for you and the selling staircase, I see it in like all of the workbooks from, the workshops that I attend of yours, obviously in the Sales Maven. Where else do you put it out there?
Well, I talk about it all the time on podcasts when I go as a guest on a podcast. So again, there's probably, I don't even know how many podcasts that you could search and find me as a guest on where I specifically break down the 5 steps of the selling staircase. Now, again, sometimes I'm so delighted when somebody wants to talk to me about something else because I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face. But I also have to remember that it is very much a part of my thought leadership. So if somebody wants to talk about it, I have to talk about it in a way as if it's as exciting to me as it might be to the person who's hearing it for the first time. Right. And I think that can make or break the difference, because I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation with somebody where they seem kind of bored about what they're talking about, but you're hearing it for the first time. And so you kind of feel a little bit bored because you're like, well, that's not very interesting. They kind of bored when they're talking about it. So I think there is a little bit, and I'm kind of veering off a little bit, but I'm kind of taking your question and putting my sales spin on it to really engage and entice your audience. So definitely podcast guesting is a great place for you to be talking about it. Okay. I think it could absolutely be in your, like if you have some type of an opt-in, it's something that you're going to reference. I know you do challenges. I know because you and I've worked on them. You do challenges. You definitely want to bring it into the challenge. Sometimes you can give a very high level overview of what it means. And then for deeper dive, there's ways to get it, right? So I teach about the selling staircase. I've talked about it a billion times at this point, it feels like. And there's no deeper dive into it than my Language of Sales masterclass. That is the deepest dive place that you're going to get on that topic. But there's tons and tons of content out there where you can get a high level overview. Maybe you'll get a medium little dip into it, but to go like deep dive in it, it's going to come in that particular course. But just because I teach it in that course doesn't mean I don't bring it up constantly in everything else.
Okay. And then obviously social media content and all the others.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think to your point, I think that was a really good point. I used to talk about, like you're not a fruit salad all the time. I mean, clients would say to me, like we would have follow-up sessions and they'd be like, I'm not an apple. I'm never going to say that again. Like, I'm like, okay, like I don't want to say I had brainwashed them, but they were like, it was so ingrained in their mind that that's not how we talk about ourselves. So, and I think I've kind of, to your point, I think I've kind of like gotten away from it because I feel like everybody's probably heard it, but somebody who I meet tomorrow doesn't, you know what I mean? So, okay, that's a great point.
And also remember that our brains love repetition. So just because somebody's heard it from you one time, think about how many times have you watched your all-time favorite movie? Right. How many times have you listened to your favorite song? How many times have you read your favorite book? How many times have you restated your favorite quote? Like, we love that, right? Yeah. It's satisfying. So again, just because somebody's heard it one time from you doesn't mean they don't need to hear it again. Because sometimes people will hear something from you and they'll go like, oh yeah, that's good. And then they forget about it. And then when it comes back around, they're like, oh, and also they tie it to you, just like how some of us can smell a certain smell and it takes us right back to childhood. It's that. And so when somebody hears something about the fruit salad, and they think of Angela, like you nailed it, right? Because now they're like, this makes me think of Angela. I wonder what she's up to. I could probably use some help right now with a closet edit, whatever that is. So we want them thinking about you. I honestly, anytime somebody says anything about a framework, a staircase, sales, I want them thinking my name.
Okay.
Right. So you have to talk about it honestly until you're kind of blue in the face
Okay.
in
That's
all different
helpful.
ways. Yeah.
Because you know how it feels. Like sometimes you feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I don't want people to get bored. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
Just
You will be 1,000 times bored before anybody else.
okay.
You know, as long as it's relevant, as long as there's some meat, I always say, like, there's got to be some meat on that bone. Like, it can't just be like, and maybe this is just my own like thing, but every time I hear somebody say sales is in the follow up, I actually want to physically gag because that to me says nothing about like, okay, everybody says that. But so that to me is not a unique perspective. And maybe it was at some point, but now it just feels so incredibly generic. You're not a fruit salad, and how that relates to body shape feels different. It feels like a unique perspective for you. So be talking about it. The Spark style method.
Got it.
You know, these things, they matter. They stick. We like sticky. We like things that stick.
I should probably, I mean, I think about just the way my website's laid out now. Anybody just random who pops over probably isn't going to see either of those things, which is a huge mess. And I probably need to get on that pronto.
Yeah. If that's your thing, right? There needs to be something, some type of a reference to it.
I mean, you'd have to probably read a lot to pick it out. So I probably need to. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
That is so helpful. Thank you.
You're
I wasn't
welcome.
really sure if either of those things were thought leadership or if I needed to like keep digging.
I
or
think
all
they
that.
are. I do. And I think it's bringing it, you know, as part of the offer, it's bringing in to who you are. And it doesn't mean that, and I'm not necessarily saying you have to bring it up in every single conversation, but chances are you need to bring it up 1,000 times more than you think you do.
Okay.
Before it really starts to stick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that. Maybe not 1,000, but I can definitely do it more than I'm doing it now.
Give it a go. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thank
All
you.
right.
That was super helpful.
Good. Good. Well, I appreciate you coming on and having the question, and I hope it will help somebody listening as well. Yes. So as we wrap up today, I always like to end with 2 questions for you. So the first one is, what would you say is a benefit that you've received from being in the Sales Maven Society?
So much. And I know so many of us in the group, when they get the opportunity to come on your podcast, they always talk about the way that you'll go over our verbiage and our language for emails and different things like that. And that is an enormous benefit. And it's one that I love to use and abuse. So thank you for letting me do that in the group.
You're funny.
But because it's always been so mentioned, I wanted to do, like, I was like, well, what else? And there's it's so much. 2 things that just really impacted me at the beginning was, the first one is the women in the group itself. I remember the first time, and I'm not a huge fan of group coaching calls, but when I first joined, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. Literally, the women that were on this call, I was like, oh my gosh, I know her. I mean, not know her, but like I'd seen her everywhere because she was like the top of her industry. And I was like, I cannot believe I am in a group with these brainiac women. I am going to learn so much, not only from Nikki, but from everybody else in the group. So that was awesome. And I mean, they come, and it's like, I love seeing the fact that they have questions and they're growing and changing and all of that. And it's fun to watch the process when they're so successful and amazing anyways. And the other thing I will say is, you really have, and I don't think you will ever appreciate how much you have changed my thought process on sales. It's always been just, one of those things that I don't really think I'm awesome at. I don't, you know what I mean? It hasn't ever really been fun and all of that. And after working with you, I just feel so relaxed, so calm every time I have a discovery call. It's really, when you just talk about, it's a relationship, it's a mutual interview. It's just all of that goodness. I had, not to brag, but
please brag. You deserve it.
But and think, okay, so you and I have been working together since like maybe August or something.
Yeah.
So then in October, I had my best month ever. And then in November, I beat October. And I'm like, and it's just because of like drinking in everything that you say about sales and trying the different things and all of that. It's just such a good, it's like fun now to jump on discovery calls and meet women and be excited. You know what I mean? It's just, yes. So I cannot thank you enough. So
thank you. It is absolutely my honor to get to be on this journey with you and to get to be a part of you really boosting that confidence. And you shine. I mean, you are such a great implementer. I always say implementers get results. You are such a great implementer. You come to the calls, you're ready. You're like this, okay, here's all the things I've done, Nikki, since we worked, together last month. Here's what, we want to work on today. Like you're always ready, prepared. We always have some place to go and you're just crushing it. So
thank you.
I expect that your sales will continue to just grow and elevate. And for those petite women out there that want to learn how to dress for their shape, I just can't recommend Angela enough. She is just a bright, shining, beautiful, beautiful soul. So thank you.
Nikki.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm not a crier. You're going to make me cry.
Oh, I am a crier, so I'll cry just for any reason. So if you start crying, I'll definitely start crying. So don't cry yet. Okay, hold on. All right. So as we wrap up today, I thank you, Angela, for your question. Thank you for all the kind things that you had to say about the group, about me, about our work together, and how candidly you shared too. I really appreciate that. And for you, the listener, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating. I love that you get to be in on these conversations, these coaching calls. Would love to hear, what was your biggest takeaway from what we talked about? How do you think about your thought leadership? How are you showing up? And have you kind of abandoned something that you need to kind of resurrect into your conversations to really embrace who you are and your unique perspective? So I'd love to hear what your takeaway is from that. And if you are ready to elevate your selling skills, if you are ready to continue to grow your business and get really confident and have that sales conversation become easy for you, it would be my absolute pleasure to work with you as well. We can do that in the Sales Maven Society. I also do private one-on-one coaching. You can schedule a consultation call with me. They're super easy to get on. We can talk about ways to work together. And that's my pitch for today. So thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.